Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are taking a look at my movement speed and magic find Wind Ripper character. I honestly just think that in 3.7 no one has taken the time to make this build guide, and a lot has changed between 3.5, 3.6 and 3.7, where is magic find best? Is movement speed best? What should I build my character for this time round? And what kind of items should I use? What kind of items should I use when I can't afford anything like the Rigwald's quills or anything, when I just start out? All that sort of stuff is going to be covered in this series. Today's video is going to be about the absolute basics. What do you need to actually start this character? What do you need to know? It's not so much about the gear now. It's not so much about the full skill tree, full gear. It's going to be about the absolute basics. First thing I want to say about the build is just some general information on the build. For a long time, a Wind Ripper Tornado Shot character has been regarded as the fastest magic find clearing character you can make in Path of Exile. But loads of people have tried to make build guides on this, and some of them are great. Some of them are really great. But the fact is, when I started watching it, when I wanted to make a character like this, I thought some of the information wasn't as good as it could have been, and some of the information just wasn't there. Like, which quiver should I use if I can't afford this Rigwald's quills? What am I truly looking for when I'm starting the character? And because this is such a popular build, I thought I would just try and make it as clear as I can for you guys. So maybe some of the questions I had will be answered in this video series. One thing I want to point out is a small part of the skill tree, which Ascendancy I use because it's very important to the basics. The only one I'm going to get into right now is endless munitions, because I can already see you guys asking me, well Eddie, listen here, you say if you don't wear anything, you shoot 2 projectiles, I only shoot 1. True, we're Deadeye, we have endless munitions, skills, fire, and additional projectile. Keep this in mind. Rest of the video. Roll it. Please. So the first thing you want to look at with Tornado Shot is the actual skill itself. So as you can see here, our Tornado Shot is right here in this 6 link. It's the only 6 link you need. So for the basic gearing, you only need 1 6 link, and that can be a tabula rasa when you first start out. This is very important for you to know when you are deciding if you want to do this build, so that's why I'm incorporating it into this video, where you don't actually need 2 6 links like you do in some builds. This build can actually be built way cheaper than people make it out to be. The way Tornado Shot works is Tornado Shot shoots basically a projectile. So if we take out some of these, let's get into the Blood Aqueduct. Where is that? Right here. So we can showcase this. Okay, so if you do not have anything else equipped, no greater multiple projection, no this, no this. So basically all we have now is Tornado Shot. It shoots double projectiles, right? So as you can see here, a piercing shot that travels until it reaches targeted location. It will then fire projectiles out in all directions from that point. So it shoots 2 actual arrows, which then multiply itself by 3 secondary projectiles. The way this works is that every small projectile that comes from one of the arrows you shoot deals your tooltip damage. For me, that's 21k DPS without this gear on. For those of you who actually want to know, with my gear on right now, it's still 19.7k. Has to do with all the gems that are in here and the rest of my gear that gives some damage with it. As you can see, when I shoot it, there is more. There is, how many arrows is that? 5? let's calculate, shall we? So we get 2 from the actual 2 from the actual gem itself. Then we get greater multiple projectile support, which make it shoot more. Right, so quick little edit here, no one noticed, of course. If you take out greater multiple projectiles, you shoot 2, as you can see. Now, with the greater multiple projectiles, you have 4 extra. It's just there on the tooltip. I'm an idiot, okay? This means 6. You get 6 with the greater multiple projectile support. Then when you use Dying Sun, you get 8. As you can see, this is 8. Everything else in the video actually checks out. It's very late, guys. You get 8. Alright? Now we got that out of the way. You'll see that once you've used Dying Sun once, it's empty. And that's a little bit of a problem, you might say. But as we continue walking here, let's see if we can find some mobs. As soon as we start killing stuff, this goes for my gear, but this goes for basically right as you get the Dying Sun Flask. As you can see, we have no trouble whatsoever just keeping it up. Just keep running, we'll keep shooting, everything just keeps dying. We could actually just keep running with a Mirage Archer like this, at this level, shoot every now and again. Most things would be cleared by our Mirage Archer. There's no trouble keeping our Dying Sun up. As I said, you don't need it, you don't actually need it when you start out, but it is a flat 25% damage increase once you get it. Again, from 6 to 8 projectiles. It's also the very first item I'm using that I would recommend you get. But this is obviously for the gearing video. I would just want to let you know the basics to scale up your tornado shot damage when you start out. Ways that are actually kind of easy, so you guys can get started before Thursday. So let's get back to the uncut, unruined, bloody video. Alright, let's just do it. Right, Eddie, you now have explained how Tornado Shot works, but I have this. You'll see when you buy this, you have the gear you get after Act 10. You'll just run in there, no damage, and it's shit. You'll be like, well, I have the 7 projectiles. I did what you said. Nothing works. True. This is true. When you reach Act 10, you don't have the items I have. You don't necessarily have enough damage to do this, to start mapping. Because what's very important is, and I still use some of these. If you look at, where are these? I'm pretty sure I still have one of these jewels in here somewhere. Yeah, right here. So as you can see, this jewel right here adds a shit ton of damage to attacks and bow attacks. This one is lightning damage. I do not recommend this one, but I just found this one when I started. Haven't changed it out yet this season. What you want to do is get jewels in all these slots except for this one. I'll talk about this one later, with raw damage. At the start, you want to build up as much raw damage as you can, because Tornado Shot has very low raw damage, and this is very important. You want the raw damage so you can start scaling that up with elemental damage with attacks and that sort of stuff. I recommend going for cold damage. The reason for this is cold damage makes enemies freeze, that sort of stuff. Then you get 15% increased quantity of items dropped by frozen enemies when you get your Wind Ripper. But you do not need your Wind Ripper when you start this build, so don't worry about that. But the scaling of the damage is very important, so whenever you get to level 68 and you finish Act 10, you do really want to make sure to grab all the jewels you can. It's probably going to be around 3, which you can fit into the skill tree with the raw damage on it. Keep that in mind, because if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to use the build very efficiently without using rings like the Taming, which give you 20% increased damage with hits and ailments per free shock and ignite on the enemy, and then 30% raw elemental damage with attack skills. Flat out 30% on both rings. This scales your damage tremendously. I will talk later about those items, all these items I'm using when we get to it. The only one I really want to talk about is the Diamond Flask of Heat. The critical strike chance. Most of these Wind Ripper multi-shot or Tornado Shot builds are critical strike builds, which is why you want to have the Diamond Flask of Heat. Alright, so that's another thing that's very basic to the build but very important. The other thing is this Lion Ice Fall Viridian Jewel. This one I would say is mandatory. I'll tell you why. You'll notice, and this is actually quite difficult thing when you first start out with the build, you will shoot 2 tornado shots, mana's gone. This is something that happened to me as well. The Viridian Jewel will help with that because melee type modifiers in your skill tree in this area will become bow ones. So if you look at these, Claw Critical Strike will still be called Claw Critical Strike Chance and Multiplier, but it will have 20% increased critical strike chance with bows and critical strike chance multiplier with bows. But if you look at this one, you will see that it's this one, Soul Raker. 1.2% of attack damage leech as life and 0.8% of attack damage leech as mana. You need this mana leech. And at the start, when you don't have enough damage, you might want to have even more mana regeneration. So I have this called Hardened Calculation, which is 20% increased mana regeneration rate. And that solves the problem for me. So other than that, I don't really need anything. I have Mind Drinker as well, which is 0.4% of attack damage leached as mana. The reason I like this one much more than I would normally, because normally I don't think I would take this, but I use a Inspired Learning, but that's for another time. I would take this one, definitely take this one, this Lion Ice Fall with the Soul Raker, and this mana regeneration rate here when you first reach your mapping levels. Alright, so that should fix your mana problem at the start. This was very important to know. That's the basics on how to build the character. So go for critical strike, multiplier, critical strike chance, stuff like that. You need the raw gem, damage gems, whatever. You understand what I mean. And you need to have as many of these projectiles as you can. Very important stuff. If you use the thing, look at all this stuff. As you can see, my mana just goes, and then it takes a while to regenerate. But as you guys will be able to see, if I run back to where we can actually kill some stuff. Let's see here. Run. So as soon as we start killing shit, we shouldn't have any problems sustaining our mana. We shouldn't have any trouble sustaining all of our flasks and keeping the Dying Sun flask up all the time. And this is really what you want. You want to be able to run as fast as possible. You want to be able to just clear the maps, and you want to be able to not have any problem having enough damage for the low level maps this season, and you want to be able to finish the maps with some ease and speed. That's basically it. If you have any questions about the basics on how the build works, so I understand this is just a very basic idea of the build, and it doesn't even go into the actual gear, but this is how the build works, and I think it's important to realize that these are the most important parts of the build. If you think I missed something about the basics, please let me know in the comments down below. If you think this is a good video, make sure to subscribe for coming Thursday, and I will go into all the gear you can choose whenever you first get to level 68, finish Act 10, and I will make sure to get into what the best gear is once you get enough money for it, like all this stuff I'm using, and there's even more expensive stuff that I can't even afford. So please let me know in the comments down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that jazz. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you later. Eddie out.